Hello, friends, and welcome to another story time with Pastor Elaine. Today we're going to continue in our book about the parables of Jesus. Last time we heard the parable of the sower, the person who scattered seed everywhere, and some places it grew and some places it didn't. And remember, when Jesus told parables or stories, they were a way of explaining something through a story to help people understand a little bit more about God. This week, we're going to read the parable of the lost sheep from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 15, verses 1 to 7. And right here we have a picture where there's someone looking for the sheep saying, "Where are you?" And the little sheep is saying, "I'm here." So in the crowd of people listening to Jesus, there were people who did not follow the Jewish law very well. This was not pleasing to religious men like the Pharisees and the scribes. Let's see if we can get that picture in there. See, there's some of the crowd that was listening to Jesus. Then Jesus told them this story. A man owned a herd of 100 sheep. One morning at dawn, he realized one of them was missing. She had disappeared. Do you think that's her up there? Without delay, the man left his flock in the fields and started looking for the missing sheep. He searched for her, moving heaven and earth until he found her again. When he finally saw her, he took her up and laid her on his shoulders and then returned joyfully to his house. When he got home, he brought together his family, his friends, and his neighbors. He said to them, "Come and celebrate with me. I have found the sheep that I had lost, and I am so happy." So if you look at this picture, there's a wolf or a coyote here, which is a danger to a sheep. So that's why the farmer was so worried about this sheep. And here's the farmer here out looking for the sheep, which was up here. After telling this story, Jesus said, "God is like this man. His greatest happiness is to see someone come back to him. He rejoices in that one person much more than the 99 others who already believed in him." In God's eyes, we are all valuable. It's really comforting to know that he takes care of us like the shepherd in this story. And you can see this poor sheep lifted up over the head of this shepherd going back to celebrate at the house. So, first of all, we have a brave shepherd. When talking about God, Jesus often told stories about everyday life. These stories were easier to understand than long speeches. Back then, there were many wild animals and thieves wandering on the roads, so a shepherd who went to look for a lost sheep risked his life. This shepherd was ready to do anything to save his sheep. And here's a sheep with a bundle of clothing over its shoulder saying, "I really want to go somewhere else." A persistent shepherd. Jesus told this story to show that everyone is precious in the eyes of God. God searches for those who wander away from him. This is exactly what Jesus did when he spoke to sinners. They felt rejected by the Pharisees and the scribes, who were the proper people. But Jesus was interested in them. He talked with them, and he cared about them. And finally, a good shepherd. And here's a picture. The sheep is beating, saying, "Bah." And the shepherd is saying, "I'm so happy to see you again." So the good shepherd. When the shepherd found his sheep, he didn't even think of scolding or punishing her. Instead, he took her in his arms, and he was so happy to bring her home that he threw a party. Jesus does the same. He approaches sinners without judging them, telling them how glad God would be if he was reunited with them. But he doesn't forget the others. He explains to them that they just need him a little less because they already trust him. So I think that if I were listening to this story of the lost sheep, and I heard about a shepherd who had a flock of 100 sheep, and left 99 of them to go off and hunt for this other one, I would think that that shepherd had lost her mind or his mind. Because what about the 99 and the wolves and the coyotes and the other threats to them? But see, God does the unexpected things. God doesn't want to lose a single one of us. So, presumably, 99 sheep hunched together are safe because there are a lot of them. But that one is very vulnerable, is very unsafe and needs to be brought home. And so God will risk everything for just one of us. So we in the Psalms it says we are his people and the sheep of God's pasture. So we might not like to think of ourselves as farm animals, but when Jesus uses these stories, he's trying to explain God's love in language that the people would understand, and they would understand about sheep and sheep that go astray and wander off, and how happy they would be if they went and found it, and that God would do something like that for each one of us. Thanks for listening. I hope to see you next time when we read another parable of Jesus.